I thank the member for Newcastle for this motion, a motion which I, as the federal member for Petrie, and I think all coalition members wholeheartedly agree with, so thank you for this motion. The words noble, brave and selfless come to mind when I think of carers. Those three words do pop into mind. Carers provide unpaid care and support to people right around this nation, people with a disability, people with mental illness, people with a chronic condition, perhaps terminal, children that are palliative, children that are dying, alcohol or drug-related issues, and those who are frail of age, aged care. There are close to 3 million carers, informal carers, as the member for Fowler mentioned a moment ago, around Australia. They are an integral part of our health system, and I want to thank every single one of them for what they do. Thank you. Our nation is better for the efforts that you put in, day out. As was mentioned a moment ago, we know that they contribute in a financial sense to something like almost over $60 billion equivalent in unpaid work, almost 3.8% of our GDP. And for this we do thank you. Carers, of course, talking to a friend of mine this morning, a good friend of mine, Fiona, who's been a carer, who's lost a child and is still a carer for one of her sons. She mentioned some of the challenges that she's been through and others have been through. These include financial costs, and we know that as a government, as a nation, we do provide some carers payments, but very small. It's pretty well unpaid. And so financial costs on families are significant. These carers cannot work full-time. They aren't able to earn a full-time wage because they're busy caring for people in their lives. There's strain on family members. The emotional work that goes into caring for people is significant, and that can affect our spouses, can affect carers' spouses. It might be their husband or their wife, so relationships can suffer. If you're caring for a child, there might be other siblings that don't get as much attention, and those siblings can suffer as well. Friends and family can also sometimes move away because they're not, often as a carer you're engrossed in what you're doing and you need that support. I guess as single people, we often mix with single people. As married people with children, we often mix with other married people with children, and carers often get together. Carers get together and often talk and are able to counsel one another because sometimes friends and families aren't able to do that. So there's financial costs, there's relationship costs with spouses, siblings, family and friends, and then of course there's getting respite. When you're 24/7, 7 days a week care, perhaps apart from when they're sleeping, it is significant and respite is needed, and it's not always available. Things have changed. 30 years ago, of course, if you had autism, you'd perhaps end up in an institution. Today, the family will care for that child in their best interests, and I think we're seeing much better results as a result of this, and I thank once again every carer that does this. On the positive side, carers do experience quality relationship time with the person that they're caring for. And I believe as a federal member for Petrie that life is about relationships, and that is one positive benefit for some carers, that they get to build a deep relationship with the person they're caring for and understand that person's life better than anyone else. In relation to respite, of course, I would like to acknowledge the federal government's contribution to Hummingbird House in Queensland that's currently being constructed. It'll be the first respite house in Queensland where children who are palliative, their families will be able to go there and actually get some respite, and that's a good thing. Perhaps when NDIS is rolled out as well, there'll be more opportunities as well for respite around the country, and I know that has strong bipartisan support from the Coalition and Labor, and that's a great thing. So carers, know that we're with you on both sides of the House here. This is a special week. I do want to acknowledge this week, of course, Carers Australia, and to thank that national body for the work that they're doing and the representation they provide to carers, and of course Carers Queensland as well for what they do. The Australian Government works closely with Carers Australia to ensure carers get the support and opportunities they need. And I thank you again for raising this motion.